Good morning, Australia. It's 10 a.m. It's 5 p.m. on the northeast, south, west coast of America, I think. Today I've got Jeremy Greene joining me, who is here he is. He's coming. I'm just going to invite him in. I haven't spoken to Jeremy before, so it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. Here he is, Jeremy.
What's up, brother? So good to see you.
Good morning. We're pretty much on our own at the moment, I think. No one's joined us yet, but that's okay.
Yeah, as long as we're having fun, the value happens. As long as we're being authentic and real, I think value happens.
And you're a mindset coach and, well, you're a lot of things. And you are also, I can't remember now, I put it in the Instagram update, but now I can't remember, a global speaker.
Yeah.
Nomad traveler, nomad tech guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I am currently visiting my family in Los Angeles, taking a bit of break from full-time travels, and then I head off again to see the world. I'm going to Mexico April 19th. Super excited about that. I'm going to visit some friends that I met earlier in my travels. I have some friends from Budapest who are in Mexico. I have a friend I met in Colombia who's in Mexico City. So that's kind of pretty rad. It's pretty amazing. He's from London. Excited to see him. But yeah, just jumping into it. I'm a global speaker. I'm also a mindset coach. I help my clients reprogram their subconscious. It's a typical beautiful story from pain to purpose. I had a lot of social anxiety, a lot of self-love challenges, and just through trainings and retreats in the forest and just every type of social challenge of free hugs around the world, I got over my social anxiety. In the process of doing all the trainings for myself first, I learned a lot. Most people take trainings to be a coach and start helping others. I didn't at the time, but then I realized I knew a lot of information, and then I started coaching and running retreats and also doing group programs. And it's been quite a roller coaster of a life I've lived, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because
Being a traveler, I mean, the last 2 years must have been pretty hard on you, not being able to really travel anywhere.
Says who?
Oh, where were you able to, I guess you can still travel around in America.
I've been traveling full time the last year.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's some stipulations as far as, I need to get tested for COVID in certain places to try to fly different certain places. Being vaccinated has definitely helped me save money. And also go to places. Most countries aren't open if you're not vaccinated, unless, like, I think Mexico is and a few other places. And it's been great, to be honest. Like, it sounds interesting. A lot of the more touristy places in the world are not very full, so it's actually nice. And on top of that, a lot of the Airbnbs are a lot cheaper, just because there's not a high influx of travelers.
I guess so. And look, I mean, I'm saying that, we've been locked down. We haven't been allowed to leave Australia in the last 2 years. Like, it's just been no travel, no international travel, unless it was, to see someone who was dying in another country, or it was an emergency. You had to ask for special permission to leave the country. So it's been pretty hard here. I mean, look, we're all looking forward to going overseas. We're just seeing what's happening now overseas before we travel.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can meet up with me soon. I've been to Australia. I went to Melbourne. I went to Perth. I went to Fremantle or Freo. I went all over. I had a good time. And actually, I staffed a transformational retreat in Western Australia in the forest.
Wow. Yeah, look, Australia, I moved here from England when I was 11 with my family, and I've been back there for holidays, and I love the place, but I can't wait to get back here. I just think Australia is one of the best places in the world. I mean, it's just that I think there has been a lot more opportunities for me in this country than what there would have probably been for me in the UK.
Ooh. Well, I kind of want to steer a little bit just for time's sake. I want to hear about you, what like your past and how you got over what you because I think I was really it was so beautiful your story, and I'd love to get to know you a little bit if you're open to sharing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't usually, I don't usually get the opportunity to share my story. So I've worked in disability for 30 years, and I've also trained as a counsellor. I started training as a counsellor, I think it was 12 years ago. Look, I have fibromyalgia, so my memory for dates isn't great. But for me, getting fibromyalgia was the greatest turning point in my life because I'd always wanted to train as a counsellor, but I'd never had the opportunity because I was always working, working with people with disability. I worked 5 days a week, 7 a.m. till 7:30 p.m. And then Saturdays and Sundays, I caught up with friends and family. And when I got sick, after that first 3 to 6 months of being sick with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, I could only go back to work part-time. So I decided I'm going to do my counselling diploma online.
Wow.
And when I started, I thought, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. So I got a tutor to help me through the first 2 or 3 workbooks. And then after
Wow.
that, I just flew with it and I understood what I was doing. And so, fibromyalgia is not a great illness, but it gave me the opportunity to change my life to do what I always wanted to do, which I don't think I would have had the opportunity because I always just worked and thought, oh, I'd love to be a counsellor.
What
And
was your
having
job before
fibromyalgia.
counselor?
So I was a support worker in disability.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, and I worked with the same family for 16 years. And then when the mum passed away, then I became the legal guardian to her 2 sons because I felt that in a government system that looked after people with a disability, it would be really hard for them to get the needs that they needed and to be able to have a great life and have someone to stand up for them and say, hey, no, they're not doing that. Or, hey, yeah, this is a good idea. Because, look, I've worked in government housing and I know how it works. And I
Yeah.
just thought, look, these guys just need someone to stand up for them.
That's powerful.
So, look, that's what I do. So now I own a business with a friend of mine and we teach communication skills to people with an intellectual disability and or mental health issues. I also do the podcast. I do the live stuff on here, Instagram, and the daily updates. I'm a legal guardian for those guys, and I also help my mum who's got Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
And I have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome.
Jeez.
I'm busier now than I've ever been in my life.
I'm impressed.
Well, you wouldn't be impressed if you saw me on a Saturday afternoon when I can't get off the couch and I need to sleep all afternoon. But that's okay, because during the week I get everything done I want to do.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful segue to what I talk about a lot with my clients, and that is having compassion for yourself. And I think that, for example, you shared about how on Saturdays you have a hard time getting off the couch, and instead of choosing to be a victim and choosing, I wish it was a different way, you kind of accept. It sounds like you've accepted it, and you've chose to have compassion for yourself. Would that be accurate?
It would be. Look, there are days when I wake up and I'm in a lot of pain and I just think, my God, why am I still carrying on? Why am I pushing myself? But now I realize that that's usually one day. And by the end of the day, I can turn that around to, look, it's just one day. Tomorrow I'm going to feel a lot better. And generally that's what happens. I might have 2 or 3 days where I need to sleep, but that's rare now. It's not like it used to be where I'd have to take 2 weeks off just to sleep and try and catch up on sleep to be able to manage my life.
That was my next question. What keeps you going when you're having a hard time?
The belief in myself that I can still do it. And I guess I absolutely love my work. I love going to work every day. And sometimes when I get to the weekend, I think, oh, I'm not going to see all those guys this weekend. I'm just going to be at home, So having, I guess, really being passionate about what you do in your work is half the half the issue. When I come home from work at night, usually I'm pretty tired, so I'll cook dinner, watch a bit of TV, maybe read a book. I don't do a lot. I don't do much socializing. But then I'm also finding guests for the podcast. You know, I mean, yeah, the podcast, someone said to me a couple of months ago, maybe 6 months ago, oh, I'm going to start a podcast. It must be so easy. And I'm like, okay, good, go for it. And they go, well, how do you get to your position? And I go, well, you just have to keep finding guests, keep interviewing people, edit the podcast, promote the podcast, hope that what you're putting out is something that resonates with those people that you're talking to. And eventually you start to get a following. Oh, but how do I get a big following straight away? I said, look, the first couple of months I was talking to my friends, you know, they were the only ones listening to my podcast.
Yeah.
And they're going, oh, wow, Dan, you did really, really well. And I'm thinking, oh, great, thanks.
I think for me, the biggest tip I would give as far as podcasting, anyone thinking about doing it, is do it to really connect with the people, and then also learn. Connect deeply with the people, and then learn. And when I was just concentrating on that and just showing up and being authentic, I enjoyed it more, and I was able to, like, it kept me going, and I started, like, after a while, I got, like, the podcast that I co-host kind of expanded, and it grew a lot. So,
and I think you're right, because when you really love what you're doing, I mean, I come off of nearly every podcast thinking, wow, I've learned so much about whatever topic we're talking about. And I talk about all different topics: autism, male anorexia, youth suicide. And people come to me and say, look, can I come on the podcast? And I have a bit of a chat with them, and I go, wow, yeah, I'd love to hear about that. I did one on child predators. I did one with a female actress here in Australia, who is in 2 pretty big shows here. And she was amazing. Her life story, you know, we went for an hour and a half from when she was 6, moving to Australia. And those sort of stories, people then get back to me and go, actually, I didn't think I was going to like that one, but I really liked hearing that life story. And if we do it for ourselves, and it's something we're interested in, like me talking to you, I come off these lives, and usually for about an hour, 2 hours afterwards, I'm buzzing, like, wow, that was so interesting. And we talked about this and we covered that, and I didn't know about that. You know, there's so much learning that we learn just by doing this. And I've said before on lives, you know, when people say afterwards, oh, you know, I learned this and I learned that. And I go, that's exactly what I learned from it too. You know, I didn't know about that. So it's a real learning experience, and people just listening get to hear something they've never heard.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I've facilitated transformation for close to 20 years now. I know I look really young. And
well, I thought you were young. I thought you were about 25.
No, I'm 36 actually. And beyond learning, which I'm always learning, because there's different research to come out. Beyond learning, I always tell, like, my clients, it's like life's a practice, and even if you know everything, it's useless unless you're practicing the ideal tips and tricks to live a life of fulfillment, live a life of your dreams. And studying the biochemistry and studying the brain, and for so many years behavior. I used to work with young adults on the spectrum. Like, I was studying it really intensely. I've learned it's a practice. It's like a choice. First step, obviously, is creating and working on a compassionate relationship with oneself. That has just changed my life. Before loving, self-love, there's acceptance, like accepting you for where you are. And then you can't go straight from, like, self-hatred to self-love. There's a self-acceptance stage, right? And then on top of that, having the awareness and realizing that every single human being has an inner critic, and then the super, super, super supporter. And it's really fascinating is, for the first session with my clients, I always have my client name the inner critic and then name the super supporter. And a very powerful realization that I have is that when I say, what's the name of your inner critic, right away, they already, like, have a connection with the inner critic.
Yeah.
And then when I get to the super supporter, they're like,
what was their name?
They're so disconnected from the super supporter. And to know, like, the default in how we act and show up in the world is that of not being happy. Like, under having the awareness piece that our brain doesn't care if we're happy or satisfied in the world. And it takes consistent work and practice to be satisfied, to be grateful. they say, oh, gratitude's so cheesy, but like it's not natural.
Look, I did a podcast, I think, in my first year, talking about how we always focus on the negatives. And you can be at a party and have one negative comment and 1,000 really good comments. And when you leave, you'll go, oh, but they didn't like my dress. They didn't like how I spoke. They didn't like that I came late. You focus
Yeah.
on the negative always. And it's really hard to turn that round. And as you were saying about your learning, I learned the most about myself when I studied my diploma in counselling. Because when I did that, I learned all these things that I worry about every day, I don't need to worry about. They're all things that are just not even worth thinking about.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. And to have the awareness piece that the reason our brain goes straight to negative, I think it was like we have so many more negative thoughts than positive thoughts. And to have the awareness piece to know that our brain steers more towards negative, like a lot more towards negative, as a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
And to have that awareness of like, all right, the normal is to be negative so that we stay alive. Like, for example, I always talk about this beautiful like idea. Like you exit, like being a caveman or cavewoman, like going back in the day, you exit the cave and you're concentrating on all the sunshine and rainbows and all your dreams coming true to the right. And then to the left, there's a saber-toothed tiger. You're concentrating on all this amazingness. Saber-toothed tiger is going to get to you. And our brain has not evolved as even close to as much as we think it has. We're still like in that with our brain, like hasn't evolved that far. So having that awareness, creating a relationship with our inner critic, like mine is Brad, like the Brad who says, oh, you're never going to be enough, you're on the wrong path, you're messing up, no one likes you, all those fun thoughts, and saying, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Sometimes I'm like, thank you so much for sharing, because I want to get mad at it and reject it. It's hard to like, but it's just like it's like an inner toddler is trying to keep you safe. Like, would you say if an inner toddler is giving feedback that's not helpful towards how you want to show up in the world, are you going to say F off to the inner child or the inner toddler? Or are you going to say, I know you're trying to help, thank you? And that is one of the hardest things that I still have trouble doing. But I, come on these lives and I share stuff. I share it with my clients and I do podcasting and I do, facilitations where I say this out loud for myself sometimes. And then if other people are starting to be kinder to the inner critic, amazing.
Well, look, you're right, because I was remembering when you were saying that the other week, everything was going so well that I thought to myself, everything's going so well, something's got to go wrong. And it's funny how we always think that if things are going, there's no reason why those things are going so well can't continue to go so well. And when something does go wrong, it doesn't have to be a major thing. It can be a minor thing. We can just go, okay, well, that stuffed me up, but now we can move on from that. But I think, even in that situation, I'm. Oh, no, but something could. Because we're on here doing a live that we've worked out life and we're fantastic and none of this happens to us. It still all happens to us.
Yeah.
Because we're all the same.
We are the same. And it goes into biases. Like we have certain biases within our brain chemistry. Like what you spoke of is the negativity bias. You have a belief system things are going to go wrong. And then I still go through this, like as much transformation as I've gone through. I see one of my friends here to chat with earlier today. Oh, he left though. Talking about like, even in my own growth, even today, as I have these, as I've grown in my business, I'm traveling the world and just really helping my clients really transform. Even in that, as like getting to the next stage, I have the resistance because I'm stretching. Possibility. Like my brain is just, all right, let me keep you towards the known rather than the unknown. And to have the awareness piece that our brain doesn't like the unknown, even if that unknown is just financial, emotional, all that, just complete freedom and abundance. Our brain is like, I don't care. Check it out. Are you breathing right now? You're welcome. By the way, you're never going to be successful when you're awful. Like, but you're welcome.
Look, bias is always something that we're going to have. And as you were saying earlier with learning, I think a lot of people if they do their job 9 to 5, whatever job they do, if they're content with that, that's great. If they're not and they want to do something else, there is opportunity, because, you know, I'm now 50 and I'm still learning every day. I don't stop learning. I'm always learning new things about my work, about podcasting. And sometimes, like, for instance, the other day I was trying to work out how to do a little audiogram with audio in it. And because a friend of mine edits all my audio for me for the podcast, I was just sitting there for like 2 hours going, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. And I'm one of those people who doesn't like to read how to do it. So I sit there and I play around with it. And in the end, I texted him and I go, how do I put this in? And he goes, grab the bit you want, delete all the stuff you don't, and that's your bit. And once I did that, it took me like 5 seconds. But because I wasn't sure how to do that, and look, you might find this as well as you head towards my age, technology seems to scare us a bit more as we get older. Whereas 10 years ago, I was building computers, I was hacking things, you know, everything you could do with computers and iPads, I knew how to do it. Nowadays, people say, oh, how do you do that? I go, I don't know, I haven't done it for so long. Oh, can you help me? No, I don't want to learn it again.
I love you bring this up, and I think it's really important, is to, like, we're always creating a reality. I always say, like, I did this in a reel recently, like, we're always creating a reality. And every time you say I'm not good at it, you're actually you're doing reps, you're doing, you know, practice reps within that belief system, right? And also talking about practice, I always talk about practice. Like, what are you practicing? Instead of saying I'm bad at it, you know, you can choose words such as I'm not practiced at it, to open up the opportunity to get more reps in. Because as soon as you say I'm not good at it, as soon as you said I'm not good at names, you stop the opportunity or the potential for putting in practice reps for the things you're not good at.
Yes.
And it goes back to not being, it's the unknown again. Like, being good at it is the unknown.
And the unknown is something that will always fear us, isn't it? Because we sit and ponder how to do something, and because we don't know how to do it, 90% of people will just give up, because they'll go, oh, look, I really don't know how to do it. And I'm not saying, like, if your car breaks down and you need it repaired, don't go out and try and learn how to do it. Well, you can if you want, but that's something that's probably easier just to take to the garage and get them to fix it for you. But most things that we do in our life, we can learn to a greater extent of what we're doing. When we started this business, teaching people with a disability and mental health, you know, I hadn't done a lot of work with people on the spectrum. I'd worked with a few people here and there, but not a lot. And now I have 4 participants who are all on the spectrum. I have a couple that have got schizophrenia as well, and one with bipolar. So I have a really big mishmash of people that we need to talk to and communicate with each day, and help them learn how to communicate in better ways. And some days that can be almost like being an elite gymnast, trying to listen to the bits that are important, the bits that aren't, let them go, and analyze it, and then give them something back that they can then use to get their needs met. You know, but it's great, because when we started the business, there was I don't think there's still anyone out there doing that. They're focused more on having a day program where they just come in and sit around and do things, but there's not much talk about how can they communicate better. We've got one guy whose family said, we've never seen him so happy. He comes in from work now, he's happy, and he sits down and talks about the day he's had, whereas he used to throw his bag in the corner and go into his room and shut the door, you know?
Wow.
So teaching a communication for someone with a disability, who I think we're still in that sort of world of, oh, they won't know what I'm talking about. Oh, they don't understand. Oh, look at them, poor thing. You know, how do they cope? But they take on so much. When my dad died at the beginning of last year, I took one day off, and then I went back into work only for a couple of hours, because I didn't want the guys to feel sad or think that I'm sad and not understand what was going on. So I went in, 2 of them had cards for me, all of them hugged me, gave me kisses, and they were like, can we ask you how you're feeling? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can. And I stayed there for 2 hours. We played some Nintendo Wii, and I came out of there thinking, geez, these guys understand what I'm going through more than what I do. You know, they were so compassionate.
Why do you think that was? What do you think, what the reason?
Look, I think part of it is the way we work with the people. Like, we say to them, if I'm a teacher, you're a teacher. If you're the student, I'm a student. We're all learning together. We work really hard on respect, and that there's no different between me and them. I say to them, look, you might have a disability where you've got an intellectual disability, so it makes it hard for you to understand stuff. I've got fibromyalgia, which is a disability. So we've all got disabilities here. None of us don't have a disability. So that's why we all work well together. And so it's about being on the same level and not feeling as though you're higher up.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Because in the end, we are all people working together. I have half the participants come to my birthday dinners, and we do stuff together. We go out, you know, even when I'm not working, I'll say, do you want to go to the pub for dinner? And we go to the pub for dinner. You know, other people might go, oh, but then you've got to carry their walker out of the car and blah, blah, blah. So who cares? I can sit and have a better conversation with one guy than I can with some of my friends, because we understand each other and where we're moving towards. It's all about having opportunity for everybody to say their piece and to feel that they are worthy and that they are appreciated in this world. And when you do that, then it actually works for you too, because you realize that you're giving someone an opportunity to then grow and go out and meet other people who, you know, I've had someone who came up to us and asked me what he wanted to drink. And I said, why are you asking me? Ask him. And they went, oh, I didn't think he'd be able to talk. Well, you haven't even asked him, you know, and he speaks normally. So, you know, the stereotypical thing of, oh, well, they're just disabled, they won't understand. That's what I work towards changing. And that's why I became a guardian as well. Because when we give people the power of their voice, then they can go wherever they want. When they're constantly told they're nothing, they're never going to be anything. They're never going to be able to change or achieve stuff. It can work in a wrong way. We have one client who now understands all his rights, and in the place he lives tells him, you can't do that, you can't do that. So it has made it a little bit hard for him living at home, and we've had to work on, well, look, the house has rules and you have to work within those rules, but that doesn't mean that you're not getting what you need. Do you know what I mean there?
I do. I think what you've shared is really pertinent to kind of what I delved into a little bit, and that is opening up the opportunity for someone to show up in a way that like other people don't give them the can't do. For example, if assuming and starting with the belief system that you yourself, Dan, are naturally creative, naturally resourceful, and naturally whole, like starting with like the belief systems of like somewhere higher rather than limiting your clients, I'm sure has helped you a lot. Like, and the same with like people in our lives in general. Like, whoa, if someone's acting in a way that's awful or terrible, instead of like getting mad, and I talked this with a client recently, like using anger as a defense mechanism, getting mad at them for not, you know, for being a certain way, instead of like, whoa, no, hold on, you can do better than this. Like, instead of getting mad at the person, because if you get mad at the person, they go ahead and they put their shield up and they're not open to new information. And then it goes to like as far as they get mad too, they're not open to new information. And then like it goes into mindset as well, like growth in general. If I don't create the starting point, if I don't start the belief, or I don't even try to be able to stop and say, all right, what does it look like to live my dream life? What does it look like to be as confident as I've ever been? What would that look like? How much confidence would that take? What would it look like if I had the job of my dreams? I was making the income of my dreams. I had the relationship of my dreams. Let me just stop and ponder what that would look like and feel like, so I have something to grow into.
Yeah.
It's like you have the shoes, and then you get like the next pair of shoes that are a little bit too big for you, but you got to have some space to grow into. I just made that up, but it's so true, right?
It is. And look,
what does that next shoe look like?
I was saying to someone ages and ages ago, it might have been on the podcast, it might have just been someone who had been cut off while they were driving, and they got angry and started screaming and carrying on at this person. And they said, oh, you know, and they just cut in front of me and it made me so angry, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, first of all, you've got to dissect it a little bit. You've got to look at what is the reason that this person cut in front of you? Is it that there's an emergency, their father, their mother, someone's injured or dead, you know? It could just be that they're running late for work and they just don't give a shit about you. But the more power you put into that of worrying about why they cut you off, the less of a good day you're going to have, because you're going to let it sit in your head, constantly going over and over. Well, why did they cut me off? That was shit. You know, they shouldn't have done that. There's lots of shoulds and shouldn'ts, but if we can try and get rid of the shoulds and shouldn'ts and just go, well, look, they just cut in front of me. It's okay. I'm healthy. I'm fine. Nothing happened to me. You know, then we can move on from it. But we can't move on from it all the time. We're going over and over in our heads about why that person did that.
Yeah,
because we'll never know. We'll never know why they did it, ever. We're never going to meet them. We're never going to have the opportunity to say, on this date, you cut me off, and why did you do that? And if you did, 5 months down the track, they're going to go, I don't even remember.
I think that's a beautiful talk. Like, concentrating on yourself as opposed to other people is very impactful. And then also in arguments, like, a really good technique that I've taught in facilitation is to switch sides. Like, with all your passion, take the other person's side, and the other person has to take your side with like complete and utter just surrender. And it's actually very powerful.
Have you done the empty chair technique in gestalt therapy?
Yeah, parts work.
Yeah.
Heck
So,
yeah.
you know, I did that when I was doing my diploma. And the mentor that I had said, right, we're going to do it. We're going to sit down and you're going to play both people. And actually, it was really full on. I was in tears when I was playing the other person. I could see their point of view. And before I did that, I said to them, well, how does this even work? Because it's just me doing both parts. Sounds stupid. I don't want to do it. But when I actually did it, and they're saying to me, now say this, and now ask them that, I was like crying, and I'm like, oh my God. They go, you will never, ever forget how to do gestalt therapy now, because you've been part of it, you've experienced it, you know how it works.
I have. I've definitely done gestalt therapy, and it's unbelievable. And I was actually doing a training on it, and I also did a retreat on it, which is like turning our inner critic into ally, like inner critics into allies. And it's a beautiful. It goes along everything in the dynamics of like every single human being. I get frustrated when people are like, "This is who I am." No, you're not. That's who you're practicing being, right? And every human being is not who I am. No, yes, it is part of you, and having love and compassion for those parts of you, which I've still gone through. Like, I'm making connections with people that I think are incredible, and I'm like, my old shadow of like, I don't deserve this, and that have come up, even though it's not true. The way I always present it in my coaching is this dynamic of like our brains are like have software that used to work and supported the computer a long time ago, but that software is just outdated and is not helping the person anymore, and just needs to be updated. And it actually takes consciousness and work to update the software in our brains, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, for example, I had the belief system no one liked me when I was in middle school. And what that belief did, it actually helped me in the sense that I would not put myself out there, and I would not get rejected because I was not in a space to be able to handle rejection. So it served a purpose. And I noticed as I got older, I was, putting myself out there more, and I was getting more confident. I can handle rejection now, but I still had that old software, which was like, no one likes you, which was not serving me anymore. So I actually had to consciously go towards the emotions that were attached to it, which is a lot of like anger and sadness and pain from having those feelings. And then what's the new software you want to replace it with? And that is like, I bring value to the people around me. I'm very loved and supported and seen by the people around me, and I put it in its space. And that was a game changer. And a lot of people don't just stop to reprogram that software that's not serving them and showing up in how they want to show up in the world, even in dreams, even in like how they feel about themselves and the people around them.
Look, you're so right. When I started the diploma, the first 3 books that I struggled with, and look, there was a lot of technical stuff in there that I just didn't understand. But what the tutor said to me was, we need to go back in your past, because you're not learning because you feel like you're not able to learn. And I went back to school when I was about 8 years old. I had this teacher called Mrs. Trotter, and she was someone who disliked all the boys in the class, told us all we would never amount to anything. You'll never learn anything. You're not good at anything. And then when we moved here as well, from England to Australia, I was 2 years ahead in English, maths. We hadn't even started studying French when I got here, but in England, we'd done 2 years of it. And so I slacked off for 2 years. And so when I went to do the diploma and we talked about this Mrs. Trotter, we changed the dynamic in my head. And then all of a sudden I was just absorbing everything. And then I said to her, when I'd finished the diploma, I said, oh yeah, but I don't want to talk to anyone about what I know, because in case I make a mistake. And she goes, Dan, you know your stuff inside out. How would you make a mistake? You've learned everything and you're learning all the time. And then when I started doing the podcast, the first couple I was a bit like, had to script them, you know, so I knew everything, single thing I said was right. And then what I learned from that was, well, if I do say something that isn't right, someone's either going to come back to me and say, oh, actually what you said was wrong, and this is what it is, and then I'm going to learn from it. Or otherwise, people aren't going to even care. It's not going to be something major that's going to make someone, you know, life fall apart. That's why I don't usually generally talk about statistics in lives or podcasts, because I don't remember them. And I don't actually think that statistics are as important as seeing the person as a whole. You know, I know there's people who say, oh, you need statistics because first marriages end 50%, second marriages end 40%, blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, but we're seeing two people who are completely different to that statistic. We don't know why they're splitting up to why all those other people in that statistic, which is usually only based on 1,000 to 5,000 people anyway. So I think if we want to use statistics, we need to say, okay, we're going to ask everybody in Australia what they think of this. And then we'll know 70% agree, 30% don't, or 20% don't, and 5%, 10% are undecided. But you cannot ever put statistics down to 1,000 to 5,000 people, because it's just not, it's not true.
Well, statistics, to play devil's advocate, it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut, which can be wrong sometimes, but could be right. And I think it's interesting that statistics are also in line with judgments, the judgments we make about ourselves, some positive and negative, right? And it's a shortcut. I think also that's a big thing that's wrong with our, I don't want to get into too much, but with our healthcare system, we see people as they see people as a number, as a statistic. Like generally, this, instead of just like stopping, like, hold on, let me see what's actually wrong with you, because every single human being is different. Every single human being has different genetics and been through different things. And let me go ahead and compare you to someone completely different, which is kind of what you said. But I think it's a beautiful awareness piece to treat everyone like brand new without the statistic is beautiful. And I think it goes along the lines of judgments. Like when I was in Western Australia, I saw a group of guys with big tattoos and drinking alcohol. I judged them to not be friendly. I was like, let me actually question my judgment I have right now. So I stopped. I turned around in Australia, and I was in Perth, and I was like, hey, how's it going? I like went over them because I wanted to challenge my judgment. And they're the nicest people I've ever met. Like I joined them, I drank a beer with them. And that's just one example of the power of challenging judgments.
Yeah,
and
judgments.
Statistics.
Yeah, look. I think when we grow up, we're taught that all the yellow cars go in the yellow box, or the green cars go in the green box. You know, we're taught to divide things up into different
black and white.
Yeah. So then when things come up and they're not like that, we go, oh, how do I learn this? What's going on? Why isn't it just green there, yellow there, red there? And then if someone was to say, but look, we're going to mix them all up, and how's that? You look at them and you go, okay. And then they say to you, and I guess if there was like trucks and cars and motorcycles of all different colors, then what would we do? Would we put them into colors? So red motorcycles, red cars, red trucks, or would we put them in all a row of trucks and all a row of cars, even though they don't match up in color? That's when things start to change in our life, and how we see things is when we add different objects and different colors, and then say, now sort them out how you would like to see them. Because then it's not that we're just going, oh, all the yellow, all the red, all the green. We might go all the trucks, or some people maybe will go, well, I want a red, yellow, green truck, bike and car, you know? So that's when difference comes. And that's what we should be applauding, is the difference in that they've put 3 different types of vehicle and 3 different types of color, rather than all the colors together or all the motorbikes together. Do you see what I mean?
I do, yeah.
But in our brains, I don't know if it was the same when you were at school, but that's how we were taught. You have to put them in those groups. And then when something comes up that we don't fully understand, we go, whoa. No, that's not right. I was taught to do it like this. So when people put things in different orders,
beautiful. Yeah.
It's so much better, because then we should look at that and go, wow, why did they think like that? When we've all thought, like 10 of us over here have all gone, no, 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 it has to be red, yellow, green. And then two people here have gone, oh, no, 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 but I want all the trucks together. And then this person has put a truck, motorbike, car, all different colors together. And then everyone goes, oh, no, 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 you're wrong, you're wrong. Why are they wrong? They're just thinking a completely different way to how we are, and that should be applauded.
Yeah, it has me think of what I shared earlier with like the new belief, like the new color, which is like people like me. Like at first it was super uncomfortable and didn't fit the color pattern which I was practicing, which was like no one likes you, and then all of a sudden people like you. I'm like, all right, let's try it out.
So why do you think people didn't like you?
I was bullied. I was bullied really badly by my this guy in middle school who was actually ended up being my podcast, and then also my oldest brother who's on the spectrum. He was having a hard time in the world, and he take it out on me. So I took on, because I was his punching bag, I took on the belief system that I'm the punching bag in the world, you know.
Yeah.
So instead of, when I was upset, instead of, you know, taking out other people, I would take out myself, and I was very hard on myself.
And do you think now, as you've got older, that has built resilience in you?
Definitely. It's built a lot of resilience. It gave me my purpose. It has helped me as far as my compassion for people who have a challenging relationship with themselves. Like it's so often where I have like a client, and I'm like, I know exactly how you feel. This is what, and like I don't like to tell my clients what to do. I only give like suggestions on things that have helped me, and almost always it helps them. But I'm like, what I did, and you can totally like try this outfit on and then throw it away if you don't like it. Like I never force my clients to do anything that they don't want to do. I'm like, well, you can try this out. Like you can try this, and this is what worked for me. And most of the time it works and helps them. And I'm like, I know what that feels like. I went through the same thing. And because I went through it, I have more like compassion and understanding.
It's a shared experience.
Yes.
And that does put you in a better place than someone else to talk to that person, because you both know how it feels. I was bullied at school too. And at the time, it was the worst thing that ever could have happened to me. I had to run fast. I had to make sure I didn't go anywhere where I knew these guys were going to be. And so basically, I left school at 15 because the fear of being bullied and being told I was going to be beaten up. I started working at 15. By the time I was 19, 20, I got into doing community radio. I started selling records, mail order, before the internet. So that was like all by mail. You know, you had to send a letter to buy a record. And when I bumped into these people later in my life, I thought, well, actually, even though at the time that was the worst thing that could have happened, it did show me. And I had a lot of friends. I had a Muslim friend when I was about 14, 15, who nobody would speak to at school. And I became friends with him. And I realized that we all needed someone to speak to, and we all needed someone to be able to hang out with. So I think that was part of the reason I got bullied as well. I was looked at as being strange because I also had a friend who was mildly intellectually disabled. But, you know, to me, they were great people. I didn't see any difference. I didn't go through and put all my colors into green, yellow, and red. I just went, hey, these are great guys. You know, no one's talking to them. Why not? They deserve a chance like I do. But, you know, it has made me more resilient as I've gone through life. And I don't worry so much about what people think I learned that as well. When I was in my early 20s working in disability, we would take, say, 8 people out on a bus, myself and another staff member. And I remember pulling up at like a 7-Eleven convenience store, and we're going in to get some lollies or drinks for them, and kids or parents sitting in their cars going, oh, look at those people, you know. And I thought, well, you don't even know these people. Why? Just because they look different to you. And it's also going back to red, yellow, green, bike, truck, because you don't understand it. You're fearful of it, and you don't know how to sort it out in your brain.
So you've touched upon 2 different things. One, there's the element of, let me judge what's different, is quote unquote the unknown. The brain freaks out. And then 2, it's a great transition to what I want to talk about, and that is the power of reaching out for support and being vulnerable. And the reason it's so challenging is what we've kind of touched upon. Someone's calling. And that's an element of displacement.
Oh, sorry.
Right?
I was wondering why my headphones
No, that's me. Displacement. Like a lot of people displace their frustrations and anger and trauma in spaces it does not belong. And then the space it doesn't belong is actually nothing to do with them, but they're just like kind of throwing the trash over here. And then for me, what I realized is that because I have this belief system that, you know, I'm the punching bag, they saw me as a target. Oh, I could throw my garbage over here. Oh, you really threw your garbage over there to Jeremy? Oh, I'm gonna do it too because he'll allow it. And there's so much like I've had this fantasy going back to middle school where I'm just like, it is absolutely not okay to treat me the way you do. And if you continue, I will get you in a lot of trouble. You don't mess with me. If I just like stop to say that to everyone, and like, hold on, I can't throw my trash here anymore. Like it would not happen anymore. And of course, I look back now, the hindsight bias. But I think there's so much power in that, and I think yeah, that's why I think belief systems are so powerful. Like, what are the belief systems you're practicing? Are those belief systems supporting you and you know, having the life of your dreams?
Yeah. Why do we hold on to so much?
Because what we know.
And it's what we're comfortable with. Because
Yeah.
when we're comfortable with how we are, even though we go, look, there are a lot of people out there who go, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to have this, I want to have that. How are you going to get there? I don't know. Well, what about if you tried this or that? Oh, no, I don't think I could do that. Why not? Oh, I just don't know how I would do it. Well, break it down a bit smaller. Oh, no, look, now you're getting there's too much to do.
Yeah. I think there's the short term, like no pain, no gain, you know, like the short term discomfort from doing something new, the short term practice of I'm a very valuable human being is so uncomfortable to a lot of people. I'm a gift to this world for me, and a lot of times in my life, other people is really hard. But eventually, you keep practicing that it gets easier, and you're happy. And I think there's such a taking those few steps back in the beginning of transformation is the biggest reason people don't live the life of their dreams. Like, well, I've had this job I don't like and I'm comfortable in for so many years. It's what I know. I know it's going to be awful not having a job for a little bit. I got to find one. I'm going to get rejected for a little bit, but then I get into a whole like 5-page, you know, paper on the power of repairing our relationship to rejection and embracing it and seeing rejection as a win. Like I literally have my clients do this where I'm like, what's a rejection of the week or a day? What's the rejection of the day? They're like, what? What's the rejection of the day? You know, just embracing it and seeing it as a growth opportunity.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, also, people are scared I'm not talking about your clients, but in general, most people will go and do their job, and they'll be they'll be happy-ish with it. They might not. It's what they've trained to do, so it's what they think they always need to do. There are so many more opportunities to look at, and you know, I've said to people before in the past, what about if you just take on an evening class? You know, it doesn't have to be a certificate or a diploma. You could just do an evening class in something that just changes the way you're thinking, changes what you do through the week, gives you something different, a challenge that's not going to be so insurmountable that you just can't do. So a small challenge. And once they do those small challenges, then I think they're more open to bigger changes. Gone are the days when, you know, people used to work till they're 65, get their gold watch, leave their job and retire. I mean, I don't ever see myself retiring because I love my job. I love doing podcasting, and I'm always learning new things every day about myself, about what I want to do, about different things, different ways I can do things. And especially doing these sort of conversations, you know, every podcast is a huge learning experience for me. Doing these lives is a huge learning. I mean, some of the stuff we've talked about today, I'm trying to hold on to it in my head so I can analyze it afterwards and go, actually, that was really good. I quite like that. Not what I said, what you said. But, you know, so while we're learning all this stuff, it's amazing. And I guess also people have to be open to listening to new things. When I do the podcasts Wednesday night, not podcasts, the lives Wednesday nights here, I've now got about 10, 15 people who come every Wednesday night. And they say, oh, look, not everything was great, but that bit you said there and that bit there, that really made me think that I could change this, or I could do that better, or I could see this person slightly different. And so it's really good, you know, and I didn't think that doing live, I think I'm up to 10 weeks now, that people would gradually hook on and start coming regularly and then take things away from it.
Yeah, I love, there's an element of just, because I had a very hard time doing lives in the beginning. Like, it was just excruciatingly scary for me. I was like, oh, I freak out, I have a lot of anxiety. And then instead of concentrating on, you know, my performance, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, I could have said that, blah, 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 I would celebrate just me doing the live. I'd be like, oh, I did a live today. Win. And it's just like the lens we look at things is everything. And a lot of times it's very challenging, but like choosing to look at everything that happens as a gift and opportunity has been absolute game changer. And choosing my commitment to joy is a game changer. People always say, I just want to be happy, but I mean, seeking happiness is dissatisfaction, and happiness is not a destination. Happiness is, like you talked about, like your hard days, it's temporary. It's acceptance. It's peace. That's the ideal way of living, in my opinion. Acceptance and surrender to what is
and
the
we
best
need
way
the
to
highs
live.
and lows, because the highs and lows complement each other, so that we do get the happiness. And if we were happy all the time and we lost someone and they died and we went to the funeral and we were happy there, well, that wouldn't be right, would it? Because we need to grieve. We need to go through that process. And then as we come back through that trough, we start to come up and go, actually, I feel okay about what's happened now. You know, it might not be something that you go, oh, wow, I'm so happy that happened. But you can deal with it because you've had that time to grieve, and then you start to become happier again. And yeah, as you say, lots of people dwell on, I want to be happy. You're never going to be happy when you keep saying, I want to be happy. You can be happy in the smallest things. I don't have a lavish lifestyle. I have a probably below medium lifestyle, but I am happy because I don't have the outside pressure of, I need to buy a bigger house, I need to buy a bigger car.
Happy or satisfied? I'm going to challenge you. Happy or satisfied?
With what?
Life. Are you happy or are you satisfied? Happy.
I'm happy. Yeah.
You're not always happy, though.
Huh?
I'm making a point. Like, you're not always happy.
Yeah. No. I'm not always happy. Look, some days not happy. Some days good happy. Some days in the middle. But I'm satisfied. I'm happy with where I am. I earn enough money. I enjoy my life. I've got good friends around me. I do good things. There's nothing that I could say makes me unhappy at the moment. Probably when I can't sleep at night makes me unhappy. Because I just want to go to sleep so I can get up and do the next day.
And sleep is one of the most crucial biohacks in our existence. Enough sleep.
Yeah. And look, having chronic fatigue, I used to sleep nearly 24 hours a day. And the stupid thing is with chronic fatigue is you're chronically tired, but then I have probably every 6 weeks, I have a week where I just can't sleep. I've got insomnia. And I don't understand it because it's chronic fatigue. I should be just sleeping, but you don't. You stay awake.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I have to get going. Absolutely amazing connecting with you, my brother.
It was brilliant. And look, considering we didn't even know each other before we stepped on, we've covered so many different things.
It was great. I loved it, and I'm always a pleasure. I hope when I go to Australia again, I'll come visit you.
All right, I'm in Melbourne.
Yeah, I have friends in Melbourne.
All right, good.
Yeah, I stay in South Yarra and the downtown area.
South Yarra.
Yeah.
South Yarra.
Yeah.
It's good. South Yarra's nice.
In the downtown area, and then was a really like cool hipster area, really like artsy area.
Fitzroy?
Yeah, Fitzroy is amazing. I love it.
In my 20s, I lived in Fitzroy. It was brilliant.
Oh, it's great. I had such a good time there. Anyway, sending you so much love. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you for joining me, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. It was such an honor. I'm grateful to connect with you today.
I'm grateful too. What a great conversation. I'm going to go away now and sit down and have a coffee and think about everything we spoke about.
Beautiful. Bye, my brother.
Bye-bye.